joining me today. I am going to make a birthday card using one of the new level 3 hostess sets from the upcoming catalog, and I'm going to use the Sundae and cherry and the little happy birthday with a cherry on top greeting. So what we have here is a piece of craft cardstock for the base of our card, and I like to just soften the edges of craft, so I'm going to use the Whisper White ink pad, and then I'm just going to use what's called direct to paper, and I'm just going to really just drag this card onto the ink pad. So I'm just dragging it across just to give a soft white edge on my card. Okay, so you can see there I've just softened the edges of the cardstock, and I'm just going to set that aside to dry while I work on the card. So my layers here are, I have a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 square of real red cardstock, and then I'm using the Summer Picnic Designer Series paper. And this is just a 3 by 3 square of the Old Olive stripe. So I'll attach that. And now I have the cherry print from the same Designer Series paper. And this measures 5 by 1.5 inches. And the real red piece here is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. So I've got my equal border around the outside of my card. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a real red ribbon around the strip of paper. So I'm just going to make my flat bow. So you can see here I've got my ribbon and I'm not twisting anything, it's flat. I fold this underneath, give it a little pull, and then I actually find it most helpful to turn my card, keeping everything flat again. Okay, and then again just keeping it all flat, and I'll tuck that piece in over the top and pull my ends, and they would like to go the same way that my ribbon was going. So I've got my ribbon, and I'll just trim my ends here. I like to just do them on an angle. You could do them a forked and whatever you like, or straight across. So here is my ribbon piece, which will get attached to my card. And now my actual stamped image, I'm going to stamp on watercolor paper, and I'm going to use the StampWithHeather ink pad. I like using StampWithHeather on watercolor. It just makes a nice crisp, firm image, and it won't bleed. So, okay, so I'm going to take my Sundae, and I'm actually going to stamp away from you, sorry, but I'm going to try and line up my bottom right close to the bottom of my card. So you can see there, it's right along the bottom. And then I'm going to take my cherry, and I'm going to make that just so it's sitting on top of the Sundae. So I've got my cherry, and then my greeting will go on my card a little bit later. So now that I've stamped using the StampWithHeather, I'm going to color this in using the Stampin' Write markers. So I've got Old Olive, Bashful Blue, and Real Red, and I'll be right back to show you the finished coloring. Okay, so I've colored in my Sundae, again using the Old Olive on the base of my Sundae cup. And in the ice cream, I just highlighted all of the accent points using the Bashful Blue, and I colored the cherry in using the Real Red. Now, if this line here bothers you, there's a couple options. You could mask the Sundae, and so that means just basically you wouldn't stamp this black line, or you could stamp the cherry on another piece of paper and you could paper piece it. I'm actually going to put some crystal effects on here at the very end to give it a little bit of shine, so I think it'll distract from this black line and be okay. So in the meantime here, I'm just going to add a few brads to our Sundae. So I'm going to do it in this top corner. I have my matte pack backing, and now my matte pack, because I want to make sure that they are equally spaced. So I'm going to line up this black, thick, heavy line with the edge of my white paper. And I'm actually, sorry, I'm going to move it, well, I'm going to go about halfway in between actually, where I want my dots. And so my first hole, I'm just going to poke all the way through my layers. I'm going to do 3 brads. I like everything to be odd, maybe because I'm a little odd, I don't know. So I've got my 3 holes there, and I'm just going to put in my Earth Element Old Olive brads. And if you've never used a brad before, they're very simple. You just poke it through the hole, and then these 2 backs flatten out. So you just open it up like you would have a duotang and just flatten that down. Okay. And now we can assemble our card. And the way our card is going to go, and I've stamped the greeting on here, just using, I used StampWithHeather just because it was out, but it doesn't matter. is my box will go on here first. I'm going to try and center everything kind of above that greeting. So let's adhere that. And now my base here, I'm going to use just the snail adhesive, but at this end I'm actually going to use 2 dimensionals. And the reason I'm doing that is because this end of the paper rests higher, because this will be taped directly onto there, but the other end hangs off. So I want it to be the same height. So I'm going to lay this across. Again, with normal tape at this end, and then my dimensionals here at this end. Okay. And then I'm going to adhere this with dimensionals as well, so I'll just put on 4 dimensionals, 1 on each corner. And it's okay that it rests there on the metal back of the brad. And now you can see, oops, my finished card. So this will go here. And there you go, that's my card front, and I'll be right back to show you the inside. The last thing I forgot to show you was using the Crystal Effects. So Crystal Effects is actually, and it's a lacquer, but I use it as an adhesive. It also can be used for lots and lots of things. So what I'm going to use it for today is actually putting on my cherry here, and when it dries, it'll have a nice kind of rubbery texture and it'll offer a nice shine. So to do that, you just basically take off the lid and squeeze it out. And I like to just put a blob in the middle, and then I just kind of push it around with the nib, and then let that sit and dry for probably about 10 minutes, and then you're good to go. Maybe 15. So that is my happy birthday with the cherry on top card. And then the inside, I just stamped a couple of the images there and gave them a quick color. Have a great day.